Good afternoon, everybody. What we've got going on here is Bernie Sanders Speeches and Events is running the press conference from earlier today while we wait for the actual live event to kick in. I'm just going to kick over to that so you can hear what Bernie Sanders had to say in that press conference, and then we'll go right into the rally when it starts. So I want to say thank you to Bernie Sanders Speeches and Events for bringing this to us via an ABC News scrape. So here you go, everybody. We'll be going to the Modesto rally soon. It's outdoors.
Are struggling with the need to have clean drinking water. This is a growing crisis. And that is why we have got to be loud and clear and join a number of counties in California that have already done the right thing. Join the state of Vermont, the first state in this country to ban fracking. To join New York State to ban fracking. And if elected president, we will ban fracking in every state in this country. Here is the final point that I want to make. And that is that we are dealing with an unprecedented crisis of incredible magnitude. Media does not pay attention to this in any degree, to the degree that it should, I suspect largely because of the amount of money that the fossil fuel industry puts into advertising. But be that as it may, we cannot allow the Congress to be bought off by campaign contributions from the fossil fuel industry. We cannot allow to continue a major political party, the Republican Party, to even deny the reality of climate change, let alone come up with real solutions. So we've got a crisis on our hands. I know the people of California are more than aware of that, and they are moving forward as best they can, but they're going to need a president who will be with them in helping to transform our energy system once and for all, away from fossil fuel to sustainable energies, wind, solar, geothermal, other sustainable energies, and move aggressively forward in terms of energy efficiency. Thanks very much. Guys, thank you. Okay, any questions from the media on climate change? Got one on climate change. Not on the last poll? All right, let's hear it. It sounds like, I can't tell you that I'm very familiar with what they have done, but it sounds like a movement in the right direction. And it sounds like in many communities here in California, you guys are recognizing the severity of the crisis. And let me just repeat it again. This is a global crisis. It is a global crisis. It requires extremely bold action. And let me also say, because it is a global crisis, the United States cannot do it alone. We could do everything. That is exactly the right thing, but you still got China, and you got India, and you got Russia burning enormous amounts of fossil fuel. So what leadership is now about, and I don't pretend that this is easy, but the word has got to get out to every country on earth that we are fighting for the future of this planet and for their kids and their grandchildren. And the United States has got to help lead the world. Yesterday I was in Silicon Valley. We want to unleash their capabilities to come up with the technologies that we need in terms of sustainable energy, etc. But we already have enough technology and enough knowledge to transform our energy system. So I congratulate all of the towns and the counties in California that are trying to do the right thing. Yes, sir.
Tony Madrid, Modesto City Council member. I was actually one of the council members that voted and helped bring that resolution.
Congratulations, Tony.
National revenue neutral pharmacy and dividend. I appreciate you speaking favorably about it. First of all, I just want to say, please come back to Modesto. You're welcome anytime. Don't leave without taking some of our almonds with you. I also wanted to let you know we are building the largest recycled water plant to provide more water and provide solutions for the water needs that our local farmers have. I just wanted to know, could you speak to other ways that you can help us address?
Well, yes, I can. How much is that project going to cost, by the way?
It's over $100 million.
Which is a lot, and you're paying for it locally and with state help?
And with federal help.
All right, look, That's another issue that we are dealing with. Our infrastructure in general, which is water systems, where you have communities around this country which have piping that's 100 years old, that's leaking every day, wastewater systems which are not efficient. And we have proposed $1 trillion investment over a 5-year period to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, including wastewater plants, which, among other things, would create 13 million jobs. All right, questions from the media? Any? Yes. Yes. No, not at all. And I didn't mean. Well, people, foreign policy is a very important issue as well. No, I did not, and you did not hear me compare Secretary Clinton to Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump is a climate change denier. He is rejecting science, and he is telling the people of California what everybody here knows, has seen with their own eyes, that there is a drought, and he believes that climate change is a hoax. That is not Secretary Clinton's point of view, and you did not hear me suggest that. What I did suggest is that I urge Secretary Clinton to be bolder. Of course she recognizes the reality of climate change, but I want her to join me in supporting a tax on carbon. I want her to change her views on the very important issue of fracking. She supports fracking. She wants to regulate fracking, but there are people who think you really, by definition, cannot effectively regulate fracking. And when she was Secretary of State, she pushed the fracking technology on countries all over the world. But you did not hear me say, nor do I believe in any stretch of the imagination, that Secretary Clinton's position on climate change is anything like Donald Trump's. Of course, she recognizes that it's real and wants to do something about it. Media questions on this, sir.
Senator, is it premature for Secretary Clinton to be bashing Donald Trump in a foreign policy speech when California voters have yet to vote, sir?
Well, Secretary Clinton has the right to say anything she wants about anything that she wants. Foreign policy is a very, very important issue. And Donald Trump's positions on foreign policy have been extremely reckless and dangerous. But today I am here in California saying two things. Number one, we have a crisis in this state that I think virtually everybody in California understands, and the people in Vermont understand. And number two, that while Secretary Clinton may be focusing today on Donald Trump, I think we have an excellent chance to win the primary here on Tuesday, and if the turnout is high, I think we can win it in big numbers, and that's certainly our goal. I want to just say this, if I might. We have been traveling all across this beautiful, beautiful state, and it's been a great experience. As of today, we have spoken to over 175,000 Californians at rallies, just like the one we're going to hold in a few minutes here in Modesto. By the time our campaign in California is over on Monday, we will have spoken to 250,000 people in California face to face. I'm not sure that anyone else in recent history has done that. That may well be unprecedented, but that's the kind of campaign that we are running. It's a grassroots campaign. It's going directly to the people, and I think that is why we stand an excellent chance to win it on Tuesday. All right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, regardless of what happens in California, the shift in the...
Are we off climate change now?
Well, I mean, we just talked a little bit about it.
All right, let me stay on climate change. I went off it a bit. All right, I'll get back to you.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on climate change? Yeah. Are you with media? Yeah. Okay. Who are you with?
Yeah, with Corbis and Shelley's.
Yeah.
Is there a single event that would awaken or trigger the public's putting their arms around climate change?
I think there have been a number of events. I mean, what you're seeing is not only the drought here in California. You're not only seeing people unable to drink the water that comes out of their tap. You're not only seeing incredible extreme weather disturbances like Hurricane Sandy and some of the most devastating hurricanes with the highest velocity ever seen in history. I mean, you're seeing smaller things, if you like. I live a few blocks away from Lake Champlain. It separates Vermont and New York State. And for years, the lake would freeze over in the wintertime. And sometimes the ice was so thick that people, a little bit crazy to me, but people would drive their cars from Vermont to New York State. That doesn't happen anymore. In Minnesota, people used to do a lot of ice fishing. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, people are seeing this thing with their own eyes. You're seeing ticks in New Hampshire killing moose in a way that's never been seen before because of the warmer weather. We're seeing 1 million manifestations of this. I mean, you're seeing islands going underwater. And I have to say, that I would hope that the media pays more attention to this growing international crisis and the reality that we have to deal with it. On the climate, yeah. You are with whom?
Modesto News.org.
Okay.
Senator Sanders, under your administration, what's going to happen with fuel prices? Are they going to go up or decline?
I think that's a good question, and let me answer it in two ways. Number one, what I am talking about is an unprecedented, aggressive transformation of our energy system. And one of the areas that is what we call a low-hanging fruit, where we can easily make progress, is through energy efficiency. I have been in homes in Vermont where we have brought in, and I've helped bring in a lot of money into Vermont to make homes more energy efficient. I have been in homes where the fuel consumption has gone down by 50%, and people's fuel bills have gone down very significantly. So that's one area that we have to work. But I will not deny to you that when you transform an energy system, there will be communities who are now involved in fossil fuels that will be hurt. And that is why we have separate legislation to put $41 billion to hold harmless, if you like, those communities and those workers who might be impacted by the transformation of our energy system. Our goal is to save the planet, not to harm workers. And we're going to do everything we can to protect them. Yeah. Well, no, must be. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, now we're on to the gossip. What you got? I know what this is. What really wakes you all up. Okay. Hell with climate change. We got all right. What do you got?
We're all on your bus. We're lowering our carbon footprint altogether.
Okay.
I guess the question I had is, so after the California primary, no matter what happens, the focus shifts to superdelegates. Have you given any thought to what you're going to do to try to convince superdelegates to come your way? Are you going to go around the country? Are you going to be stumping where they are?
Well, I don't know. You stumped us. There aren't, we're going to be talking, we've talked to 250,000 people here in California. Thank God there are not 250,000 superdelegates, so it's on a more individual basis. But if the question is, will we be contacting superdelegates? We are. We're starting to do it right now. We have a number of people around on the phone, I think, as we speak. But here's the case that I will make. And it's a very simple and straightforward case, which has the advantage of being true. And that is every Democrat coming to the Democratic National Convention has the common goal of defeating Donald Trump. I think we all, whether you're for Clinton, whether for Sanders, understand that Donald Trump will be a disaster for this country, and we all have got to do everything we can to prevent him from becoming president. And I certainly believe that. I think for two reasons that Bernie Sanders is the strongest candidate to make certain that Donald Trump does not become president. Number one, if you look at all of the polls, and just a couple of polls came out yesterday, again, if you look at all of the national polls, Bernie Sanders runs much stronger against Donald Trump than does Hillary Clinton. If you look at state-by-state polls, including a poll that came out a few days ago here in California, where Clinton was, and there were different polls, but Clinton was ahead of Trump by 10 points, which is not a lot in a progressive state like California. I was ahead by 17 points. In Michigan, we were way, way, way ahead of Trump, much further ahead than was Clinton. That's point number one. Point number two, which is equally important, is that Republicans win when people are demoralized, don't come out to vote, and voter turnout is low. That's how Republicans win. Democrats and progressives win when people are excited, when they are engaged politically, when they are prepared to stand up and fight back. And I honestly believe, it's not just me talking, but any objective observer of our campaign, I don't know how many people we have right out here today in Modesto for the rally. How many? We have 3,000 people right here on a weekday morning. And we have seen we had, what do we have, 9,000 people out last night in Davis? Okay. I mean, we are seeing incredible turnouts, but that's not just in California, that's all over the country. There is we are bringing, right now in California, as I understand it, there has been an incredible surge in voter registration. People want to participate in the political process. Young people want to participate in the political process. I think that's pretty good for democracy. So the second reason I think that our campaign is the strongest campaign is that we are energizing millions of people. And when people become energized, when they register to vote, when they vote in primaries, the likelihood is that we will have a large voter turnout in the November general election. And if we have a large voter turnout, I have zero doubt that we will retain the White House, regain the Senate, do much better in the House, and win governor's chairs all over this country. So that's the case we're going to make to the superdelegates. Look, I understand, and the other point to be made is this whole superdelegate process, frankly, is absurd. Hillary Clinton won the support of over 400 superdelegates before anybody else was in the race. 8 months before the first ballot was cast in Iowa. Does that make sense to anybody? What a superdelegate is supposed to do, to the degree that you want to give any credibility to the concept of superdelegates, what a superdelegate is supposed to do is look around and say, okay, my job is to make sure that Democrats do well. Which candidate out there is the best candidate and can beat Republicans? And yet you had over 400 superdelegates making that decision before anybody knew anybody who was going to be in the election, in the campaign. And that's pretty absurd to my mind. Yeah, Chris. Yes. Yeah. No, they have no point. Because the logical corollary of what you are saying is that the people of California should not have a right to vote for president. Well, ask the people of California whether or not they have a right to select the Democratic nominee for president. You know what? With an incredible increase in voter registration, with what I expect to be a very, very large voter turnout, the people of California are saying, you know what? Yeah, we are the largest state in this country. Maybe we do have a right to determine who the Democratic nominee for president would be and what the Democratic agenda would be. And I think the people of New Jersey and Montana and the Dakotas are also saying the same thing, as are the people of Puerto Rico. You know what? I'm an old-fashioned guy. I kind of think that democracy is a good idea. I think vigorous debate about the issues is a good idea. And I think that the more people who are engaged in the political process will mean there will be a higher voter turnout. And it's my belief that if there's a higher voter turnout, a Democratic candidate will win. All right, look, Chris just gave you my answer on that one. All right, that's about it. I got to rally out there. Okay, thank you all very much. I thought I answered the...
Your two points are exactly the same as they've been for the last month, and yet there's zero evidence that superdelegates are starting to switch. So at some point, is this getting disingenuous?
I don't think it's... Do you think we should... I don't think it's disingenuous to say that the people of California have a right to determine who the Democratic nominee for president is, nor the people of New Jersey. Let the people speak and let the superdelegates make their case. And I hope you have as much passion about climate change.
right, everybody. Give me a second here. I sounded like Bernie there with a frog in my throat. I don't know how that guy keeps talking. I have no idea how that guy keeps talking. Oh, Scott found it live on ABC. Love you, Scott. You're wonderful. Give me 1 second, guys. We're going to pull up this live broadcast right now. Get this thing moving. I want to thank Bernie Sanders speeches and events for always coming through. Between them and News Universe, we've really had good luck with the feeds. And it looks like we've got... what are we pulling this up for, Scott? Okay, so Scott. Okay, so I see Scott just pulled up something that might be what we're looking for. So we'll see. We'll see if I can't find it. It is not quite yet. It looks like it was running Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's talking. You don't want to hear Hillary. You guys don't want to see Hillary, do you? No. Let's see if I can't find Obama. Not Obama. What am I saying? Just looking at a picture of him on here. He's doing something. See if I can't find Bernie somewhere on this. Scroll down. Scott's telling me. All right, give me a second. Nope. Nope. Well, we do have Bernie Sanders speeches and events, everybody, so hang on a second. Just ended. That was live. Yeah. And that's true. Here, sorry, guys. I've got all sorts of stuff going on here. Pull this off. That was... I just cut into that. Hi, everybody. I just cut into that because it was going on. I said, why not? All right. It's... that was a cool press conference. Bernie said some serious stuff in that. Scott? You got any commentary on the words that Bernie said? Those are pretty harsh words. I thought that was pretty strong. I don't know. I'll show you what we're waiting on here. This is
I found it on that press conference was on that other link, that ABC link. So once the other rally starts, it might be there too.
Okay. All right. So yeah. Well, hopefully that's. Sorry, everybody. I got all sorts of things going on at once. Hopefully we'll. And we were echoing. The echo's gone now. My bad. All right. Yeah, I turned off the audio, Scott, because I had it echoing. Sorry, you guys are going to hear echo. All right, so we'll find it. Should be kicking in here real soon. That was live. What we just watched was live. So Bernie Sanders just left that press conference that was supposed to end earlier and is on his way to this one that we're supposed to be watching here. Bernie Sanders' speech and events seems to be the only place that has it right now. We're hoping that ABC, he was grabbing that from ABC, and we're hoping ABC also covers the big event. I don't see why they wouldn't. Right. So just give us a minute here, and we'll either pull it from Bernie Sanders' speeches and events, or we'll pull it from ABC. You guys are welcome to go to any of these feeds. Again, we're not competing with anybody. I want to make that clear. We don't compete with anybody here. Our goal is just to get the information out. Bernie Sanders has been blacked out for the most part by establishment media. If he had not been, this wouldn't even be a race at this point. If Bernie Sanders had been given equal media time, Hillary Clinton would not be in the race at this point. Bernie Sanders would have won, hands down. And if you want proof of that, look at Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump wouldn't be where he is today if the media hadn't carried him through and shined a big old spotlight on his ass. Bernie Sanders had been given equal time with Hillary Clinton, just equal time, not more time, equal time. He would have clearly been seen as the right choice, and it would have been done and over months ago. So just think about that. Bernie's. I love when he said in that speech, man. We're going to talk about environment. Oh no, we're going to talk about gossip now, right? Here, let me put you on, Scott. I got it. The problem is I lost one of the cameras. Scott was on that camera. The other camera's broken already. I can see Scott, but you can't. It doesn't really do you any good. And I can't. Okay, we're okay. The audio is being funky on me too. Sorry about that. Hitting too many buttons. If it briefly echoes for a second, I apologize deeply. Scott, they can hear you now, but it shouldn't be a double. And here, I want to show you this, everybody. This is my new favorite meme. Gary Fraser. We're going to talk to Gary. Gary, if you're out there, we threw this together based on that little CNN clip. I love what you had to say. You can't expose the corruption of the political system and then expect us to get behind that same political system, and that is why I am Bernie or Bust, and I'm looking forward to talking with Gary and the other black men for Bernie who have some interesting civil disobedience ideas that I would like to discuss with them. Very excited about that. Let's see if I can find the other camera. Scott. He's so helpful.
The other camera?
No, it's me. It's me. This is my problem totally. Give me 1 second. I made this happen. Seriously? Well, like I said, everybody, we're waiting. Do you want to expound on what's going on? Sorry, guys, I'm having a bit of a technical issue. You just have to wait through it. Here, I'll run. Well,
one interesting thing in the NBC poll is that I forgot the exact. Bernie was up, I think, like 49, 48 among Latinos. So there was, and Latinos are the majority in California. They're the biggest voting bloc.
Nice. 256. Hey, all 256 of you. Sorry, just give me 1 minute. I'm trying to bring the other camera back to life here so I can. There you are, Scott. Oh, good. We found you. Hang on 1 second. Pull this over here. Everybody, it's Scott. There, go on. So tell us about those stats. Talking about the poll. We did show the poll earlier, by the way. Talking about that in the newsroom today was those stats on California, where they're basically tied with the 4-point margin. So.
Right, but in the field poll showed Hillary slightly ahead among Latinos, but the NBC poll showed Bernie slightly ahead.
Oh, really? The NBC poll had Bernie ahead.
Among
Latinos, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
What I didn't like in those polls was the early voting. She always beats us in provisional ballots and early voting. Their ground game just always gets. It doesn't. If there's early voting, you want to make that your priority. You want to get them to vote. You don't want to wait till election day. You want to get them to the polls as soon as you can.
So do you think that was a flaw in strategy of Bernie's ground game, or do you think it might have been just because he didn't have the option, he didn't have the resources to get that going? You know, he kind of had to get the rally motion going before he could get the funding motion going. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know, and I hear what you're saying, that early voting is critical.
Yeah, and the absentee ballot. If there's absentee voting's allowed, it's a guaranteed vote. It's not. If you wait till election day, something comes up and the person doesn't make it to the polls, and just get it over with as soon as you can.
Right. No, I hear you there.
And the whole provisional ballot thing, where
yeah.
I thought when people would ask, I had a reader supported news ask if they should register nonpartisan, independent, Democrat, and everything. Just play it safe and register. It's too late now.
Right.
Registration deadline's over, but before the registration deadline, they should have been telling her, just register Democrat. If you want to register nonpartisan later, register nonpartisan later. But it would have been smart to just play it safe and register as a Democrat.
Well, there you go. There you go. I mean, that's what I did. I didn't want to dick around with it. I don't trust what's going on in the system anyway. But I was a registered Democrat for Obama, and then just was lucky enough to hang on. Plus, Oregon makes it pretty easy. California is insane. It seems this nonpartisan NPP thing going on.
Right.
Stream coming in. With ABC's Red Lobster Trio. Hang on, everybody.
Is that? Yeah.
Hang on, everybody.
Oh.
They need to say, well, the American people from coast to coast listen, that is not the country we want to live in. And the American people are looking at Wall Street. They're looking at the greed and recklessness and illegal behavior that drove this country into the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. And they understand, the American people understand that, hey, we bailed out Wall Street after they helped to destroy this economy, and we bailed them out because the major banks were too big to fail, but 3 out of the 4 largest banks are now bigger than they used to be. wealthy campaign contributors exercising unbelievable power over the political and economic life of this country. And by the way, what things like that are about is the understanding that's what the media will focus on. It will not and on the low income and health household. They will not be talking about why in the richest country in the history of the world, millions of our people are forced to work 2 or 3 jobs just to survive economically. That will be the story on the news. And that is part of the problem that we have to deal with. And what this campaign is about is understanding a very simple reality. And it's important that everybody gets it. And that is, and I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but it's the truth, that the power of the big money interests are so strong in so many ways that the only way we transform this country is when millions of people stand up, say loudly and clearly, enough is enough. And we create a government, and we work to create a government that works for all of us, not just wealthy campaigns. One of the gratifying aspects of this campaign, which is pretty revolutionary, I must say, is that in state after state, those states we win and even those states we lose, what we have seen is that our campaign is attracting the votes of the vast majority of young people. I gotta tell those of you who are 20 or 25 that by young is a broad definition of young. It includes people who are 45 years of age and younger. Now, I know that when you are 25 or 22, 45 does not seem young. But you will change your view when you are 45 years of age. But what is important about that reality of so many younger people joining our campaign is that our vision, the vision that we share of a nation of social justice, economic justice, racial justice, and environmental justice. That vision, shared by tens of millions of young people, is the future of America. And I understand that Donald Trump is trying to which says that he can divide us up, if he can get us to hate Mexicans and Latinos and Muslims. If we think it is okay to be insulting women and veterans and African Americans. That's his strategy to divide us up, but you know what? It ain't gonna work. We are coming together. Campaign is saying, maybe the most important thing that we are saying, not just the many issues that we're talking about, which I'll talk about in a refuse to use your power. What the establishment wants and the big money interests want is you to moan and groan and complain, but not get involved in the political process. And our job is to tell them that they are dead wrong. We are going to get involved in every way. Because the truth is that while Wall Street and the drug companies and corporate America may have incredible money and incredible power, when we stand together by the millions, we have more power than they do. And this campaign is going to win because we are doing some process. One process, one focus politics. We are telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Congress will reflect the campaign finance system which is undermining American democracy. Democracy is not a complicated process. One person, one vote. Democracy is not about billionaires spending hundreds of millions of dollars to buy elections so that Congress will reflect the needs of millionaires and billionaires. That's why together we're going to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court. I want any person here today, whether you're progressive, moderate, conservative, I want you to be able to run for office without begging millionaires for campaign contributions. But it's not just a corrupt campaign finance system that we have to overturn, and it's not just creating a vital democracy, one person, one vote, that we have to achieve. It is also ending a rigged economy. A rigged economy is when, for the last 25 years, the middle class of this country has been shrinking, 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 and almost all of the new income and wealth goes to the top 1%. A rigged economy is when the top 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. A rigged economy is when CEOs who make $40,000, $50,000 a year in compensation at the head of their corporations closes down factories in America and moves to low-wage countries abroad. But it's not just the corrupt campaign finance system, and it's not just the rigged economy that we have to deal with. It is also, very tragically and embarrassingly, a broken criminal justice system which has has today in America more people in jail than any other country on earth. We got 2.2 million people in jail, and we're spending $80 billion a year to lock those people up. Together, we are going to end that disgrace and reform the broken criminal justice system. And to do that, we have got to think outside of the box, think about issues that are not often reported in the media. And one of those issues is that in inner cities and in rural communities all over this country, youth unemployment rate is 30, 40, 50%. And when young people are out hanging out on street corners with nothing constructive to do, bad things happen. And that is why, together, we are going to invest in our young people. We're going to we are going to invest in jobs. We're going to invest in education. Not in jails or incarceration. Think about an America where our young people are gainfully employed, are proud of the work they're doing, are earning an income, or they're in school. Think about an America where those young people are not rotting in jail cells. And when we talk about criminal justice reform, it is also vitally important that we talk about local police departments all over this country. I was a mayor of Burlington, Vermont for 8 years, and I worked with police officers there, and I worked with police departments all across this country. Truth is that the average police officer is honest, hardworking, and has a very difficult job. But the other truth is that, like any other public official, if a police officer breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. We must demilitarize local police departments. We must make police departments reflect the diversity of the communities they serve. We must end corporate ownership of prisons and detention centers. We must change law enforcement culture so that the use of lethal force, shooting somebody, is the last response, not the first response. We must rethink the so-called war on drugs. Over the last 30 years, millions of Americans have received police records for possession of marijuana. And if you receive a police record and you're 19 years of age and you're out trying to get a job, it is not helpful. Right now, under the Federal Controlled Substance Act, marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug right alongside of the killer drug heroin. And that is why we are going to take marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. As all of you know, the decision as to whether or not to legalize marijuana is a state decision, not a federal decision. And many of you know that that item is going to be on the ballot here in California in November. For a number of reasons, I would vote yes on that ballot item. But when we talk about drugs, there is another issue out there that has got to be dealt with, and dealt with intelligently. And that is the fact that we have a major crisis in this country in terms of opiate and heroin addiction. And this is a crisis that exists all across the country, and it is a crisis that we must deal with, and deal with intelligently. And that means that we should look at substance abuse and addiction not as a criminal issue, but as a health issue. Or other special interests. Up to today, we have received almost 8 million individual campaign contributions, more than any candidate in history at this point in the campaign. Anybody know what the average contribution is? You got it, $27. And what is extraordinary about that, and why it is an integral part of the political revolution, is we are showing we can win an election and not be dependent on powerful special interests. Now, my opponent, Democratic opponent, Secretary Clinton, has chosen a different path. She has a number of super PACs that have raised millions from Wall Street and other powerful special interests. Now, it seems to me that our job as a nation now, as a people, is to take on Wall Street, not take their money. This campaign is listening to working people. And what they are telling me is that in America today, you cannot make it a $9, $10 an hour, that the federal minimum wage of $7.25 is a starvation wage, that we've got to raise that federal minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour. And when we talk about equitable wages, it is not acceptable to me, nor I think to you, that women today earn 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. This has nothing to do with economics and everything to do with sexism. And I know that every man here will stand with the women in the fight for pay equity for women workers. And when we talk about women's rights, I know that all over this country now you got Republican governors and senators and congresspeople. They go around the world and they talk about family values. And I want everybody to be very clear about what Republicans mean when they talk about family values, and that is that no woman in this room, in this state, in this country should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. And when Republicans talk about family values, what they're also saying is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to get married. We disagree. This campaign is listening to young people. And young people are telling me that they are not particularly happy that when they do the right thing and they go out and get the best education they can, they end up $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 in debt. Think outside of the box. Think outside of what Congress is talking about or what the media talks about. Understand, as you all do, that we live in a very competitive global economy. We need, and nobody argues this, the best educated workforce in the world, right? Technology has changed. The economy has changed. Education must change. Years ago, it was perfectly okay, consistent with the nature of our economy, that we had free public education, first grade through 12th grade. That was an extraordinary achievement. But the world has changed. And in 2016, when we talk about public education, it must mean free tuition at public colleges and universities. Does anybody here, I want you to think about it for a second. Does anybody here really think that free tuition at public colleges and universities is a radical idea? It's not, because all of you know that the economy has changed. People need more education. That's just the reality. Furthermore, we know that Germany, Scandinavia, and other countries are already providing free tuition because they know that investing in their young people and in their education is the future of their countries. And that is a lesson that we must learn. Look, I grew up in a family, didn't have much money, and my parents never went to college. And that's the case for millions of families in America today. It is not a radical idea to tell children in the 6th grade here in Modesto and all across this country, I want you to think about this, to make sure that those kids understand that if they study hard and if they take school seriously, they will be able to get a college education regardless of the income of their families. That is not a radical idea. That is, in fact, what this country is supposed to be all about. How many people here are dealing with student debt? Okay. Again, think outside of the box. Think about how crazy it is to be punishing people with debt that they're going to have to be paying off year after year after year, punishing them for what crime? For getting an education. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We should be rewarding people for getting an education, not punishing them. And as a start, in my view, what we should do is allow people with student debt today to refinance their loans at the lowest interest rates they can find. Now, here is what thinking outside of the box, again, is about. I am criticized for this proposal. It's too radical. It's, just too big thinking. You can't do it. It is too expensive. Well, let's talk about that. Truth is, it is expensive. It's about $70 billion a year. It's a lot of money. How are we going to pay for it? Here is exactly how we are going to pay for it. All of you know that 8 years ago, when Wall Street's greed, recklessness, and illegal behavior drove this country into a horrific recession, Congress, against my vote, bailed them out. Well, I think now that Wall Street is doing just fine, it is time to impose a tax on Wall Street speculation. And that tax would more than pay to make public colleges and universities tuition-free and significantly reduce student debt. Well, needless to say, Wall Street and their supporters in Congress are not enthusiastic about this idea. But we are going to tell Wall Street that they are going to have to learn, and learn fast, that they will no longer get everything they want. And that when 3 out of the 4 largest banks in America are bigger today than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail, we are going to break up the large financial institutions on Wall Street. This campaign is listening to the Latino community. Today, there are 11 million undocumented people in this country. And when you are a worker and you are undocumented, you get cheated and you get exploited every single day. What your employer can do to you if you are an undocumented farm worker in California is work you longer hours and pay you lower wages than you agreed to. But you can't stand up and fight back or go to the Department of Labor. And that is why today we must pass comprehensive immigration reform and a path towards citizenship. We must end the current deportation policy. Our immigration program should be to unite families, not divide families. And if Congress does not do its job and pass immigration reform, I will use the executive powers of the presidency to do all I can. This campaign is listening to the African American community. I have been in communities all across this country and in inner cities all over this country, and this is what I have seen. Not often talked about on media, but it is an issue that we must address. 47 million people in this country, the wealthiest country in history, are living in poverty, and many are living in dire poverty. There are millions of people who, as we speak, there are moms and dads who do not know how they're going to feed their children tomorrow. There are people who are working 40 hours a week, and they have to go to the emergency food shelf because the wages that they are earning are so low, they can't feed their families on those wages. I have been in Flint, Michigan, where their infrastructure is collapsing and where children have been poisoned by lead in the water. I have been in Detroit, Michigan, where their public school system is on the verge of fiscal collapse and where children are not getting in any way the kind of education they need. I have been in Baltimore, Maryland, where tens of thousands of people today are addicted to heroin and cannot get the treatment that they need. But it's not just inner cities. I have been to rural communities like McDowell County, West Virginia. People there, if you can believe this, are dying at significantly younger ages than people a few hours away from them. Poverty in America is not just not having a flat screen TV or going to a fancy restaurant. Poverty is, in many cases, a death sentence. If you are a man in McDowell County today, you are going to die 18 years younger than somebody living in Fairfax, Virginia, a wealthy community 6 hours away. Now, in my view, the time is long overdue to change our national priorities. Instead of investing in wars like the war in Iraq we never should have gotten into, instead of giving tax breaks to billionaires, we should be rebuilding communities in inner cities throughout this country and in rural communities as well. When we talk about what makes a nation great, let us be clear. It is not the number of millionaires that exist in that country, and it is not the number of nuclear weapons that we have. A truly great country is a country that provides well for the weakest and most fragile and most vulnerable people in the country. Today in America, there are millions of disabled veterans and senior citizens trying to make it on $10,000 or $11,000 a year Social Security. And you know what? You cannot make it on $10,000 or $11,000 a year. The Republicans, if you can believe it, in Congress want to cut Social Security. We have got a real surprise for them. Not only are we not going to cut Social Security, we're going to raise Social Security benefits. And we have a very specific piece of legislation as to how we will do that and how we will extend the life of Social Security for another 58 years. And I want to tell you two things. Number one, very glad that President Obama yesterday came out and said and agreed that now is the time to expand Social Security. But number two, I urge Secretary Clinton to come on board our legislation. We have got to raise the cap on taxable income, and when we do that, we significantly expand benefits for seniors and disabled vets and extend the life of Social Security for 58 years. And when we talk about those people who have been left behind, there is no group of people that I can think of where that has happened in a more painful way than to the Native Americans in our country. From before the time that we became a country, when the first settlers came here, Native American people were lied to, cheated, and the treaties they negotiated were abrogated. Yet, despite all of that, the Native American people have given us so much that we have a debt to them that we can never fully repay. And they have taught us one lesson that we cannot fail to listen to. And that is that as human beings, we are part of nature. We must live with nature. And that if we continue down the path of destroying nature, we are ultimately destroying ourselves. But yet, despite all that they have given us, the Native American people today on reservations and in communities all across America are facing enormous hardships, outrageously high levels of poverty and unemployment, inadequate health care, inadequate education. Together, we will, in a fundamental way, change the relationship of the federal government to the Native American people. Thinking big and outside of the box is asking ourselves what human needs truly are. And asking ourselves, how does it happen that in every other major country on earth, in the UK, France, Germany, Holland, Scandinavia, in Canada, 50 miles away from where I live, health care is a right of all people. In my view, and I believe this throughout my entire life, health care is a human right, not a privilege. The Affordable Care Act has done some very important things, but we have got to go further. Too many people are uninsured or underinsured with high deductibles and high co-payments. We are getting ripped off every day by the greed of the pharmaceutical industry, who charge us the highest prices in the world for the medicine we use. 40,000 Americans a year die because they don't go to a doctor or a nurse when they should, because they're uninsured or underinsured. In my view, it is time for the United States of America to join the rest of the industrialized world and guarantee health care to all people as a right. And that is why, together, we will pass a Medicare for All health care program which not only will guarantee comprehensive health care for all people, but significantly lower the health care costs for middle-class people. Every person here understands a very profound lesson of American history, and that is that real change never occurs from the top on down. It is always from the bottom on up. "100 years ago or more, you know what workers in America were going through? They were working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Children, 12 years of age, were working in factories, getting their fingers cut off by machinery they should not have been near. But workers stood up, and they told their employers that they're not animals, they're not beasts of burden, they need to be treated with dignity. They formed trade unions, and in fact, they helped create the modern American middle class. A 150 years ago and forward, in the abomination, at the time of the abomination of slavery, African Americans and their allies stood up and they fought back, and they looked to the future. And they said that in America we will end racism and bigotry and all forms of discrimination. That did not happen because of somebody in the White House or in Congress. They played a role. But it happened because millions of people over a period of years demanded that we end racism and discrimination in America. And some of those people went to jail, some of them died, some of them were beaten. But millions of people stood up and fought back. Now, people don't know this, especially the children today. Less than 100 years ago, no time at all, from an historical perspective, women in America did not have the right to vote. Did not have the right to get the education or the jobs they wanted. And do you think somebody up there in Congress and the White House said, "Oh, I think that's a terrible idea"? That's not what happened. Women stood up to an establishment which said to them, "Your job..." Now think about this. Think about it. 100 years ago, the culture in America, by and large, said to women, "Your job is to stay home, keep house, and have babies." But women, by the millions, with their male allies, stood up and said to the establishment and the ruling class, "You will not define the role of women. Women will define that role." Now today, looking back, it seems pretty easy. What's so radical about women having the right to vote? My God, it's a no-brainer. That was not the case 100 years ago. It took struggle. And I want to give you another example. If we were here 10 years ago, no time at all, and somebody jumps up and says, Bernie, I think that gay marriage will be made legal in every state in this country by the year 2015. Person next to him would have said, you're crazy. It can't happen because there is so much homophobia. There is so much hatred, so much resistance, and we see it today in states around the country. But what happened is the gay community and their straight allies stood up. They stood up loudly and proudly, and they said that in America, people should have the right to love whoever they wanted, regardless of their gender. Now, it is very easy, and this is what we all do. It is very easy to look back and say, well, this is really crazy. Of course, gay rights is the right thing to do. Of course, women should play any role they want. Of course, we have civil rights in America. We're going to end discrimination. Of course, workers should not be exploited. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But it wasn't a no-brainer when people had to stand up and fight for those rights. It took enormous amount of courage. It took enormous amounts of courage and dedication and suffering to bring about the real changes that we are proud of in America. And here we are right now. And it's the same thing. What we accept as normal, I want your grandchildren to tell you, you were crazy to accept it. I want your grandchildren to tell you, Grandma, I can't believe that you actually lived in a time when there were people in America who couldn't go to a doctor and had no insurance. Come on, Grandpa, tell me something else. That can't be true. Grandpa, are you really telling me that billionaires were able to buy elections when you were young? I can't believe that. This is a democratic society. Grandpa, I don't believe that women really made 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. I don't believe that young people graduated college $50,000, $70,000 in debt. I don't believe that you lived in a country where the infrastructure, roads and bridges were collapsing. And most importantly, Grandma and Grandpa, I don't believe that you looked at the issue of climate change and did nothing. Now, I've got 7 beautiful grandchildren. And I know that, many of you are going to have great kids and great grandchildren. I do not want the day to come when those grandchildren look you in the eye, when we are living or they are living in a planet with enormous amount of drought and flooding and extreme weather disturbances, where we're destroying the oceans, where sea levels are rising, where wars will be fought over limited natural resources. I do not want your grandchildren to look you in the eye and say, Grandma, Grandpa, what did you do about that? Well, Now, I wish it was just Bernie, but it is not just Bernie. We are in this together. Now, on Tuesday, there is going to be, as I mentioned earlier, a very important Democratic primary. And I have zero doubt that if there is a large voter turnout, we will win, and a very large turnout will win big. On Tuesday, let us see this great and progressive state of California have the largest voter turnout in Democratic primary history. And let us see California tell the world that you're going to help lead us into a political revolution. Thank you all very much.
All right, that's Bernie Sanders, courtesy of ABC News. Really want to thank ABC for providing that feed and not shutting us down. It's political content, it's political speech. It belongs to the people, according to the First Amendment. So we really appreciate them recognizing that. And got a couple things to talk about. Some interesting news that came across while we were listening to Bernie. Very strong words there. If you caught the speech at the beginning. And then we covered a little bit of the press conference that he did before he came into this, but very strong words, new words, big words, right? This is a real political revolution, folks. This is the real deal. Welcome. This is powerful. It's awesome. I'm very excited. I want to share some stuff with you. I want to find the comments, make sure everything's okay. 383 still here. Hang out with me. Let's talk about a few things. Some new polls. New Quinnipiac poll shows that most people don't believe that either Trump or Hillary will honor any of their promises. Most believe they will try to do some things, and most believe they will be unsuccessful at doing those things. So I don't know why the poll didn't include Bernie Sanders. That's something that was pointed out to me. Who knows? You know, why bother doing that? But there's some other news too, and then we're going to end with a new piece fresh from the Sanders campaign official YouTube site that looks like a nice piece on exactly what we've been talking about here. This is not pretty. It's not neat and clean. It's not tidy-whitey. This is a political revolution. It's going to be messy. It's going to be loud. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be painful. We're going to suffer. We already have suffered, and we're putting an end to that. That's going to take courage and strength that we have seen many people in the past have and rise above. So many have died for us to get here today. We cannot fail them. We're going to look at a few things. That is one of them. That's Flint water. Give me a second. That's all right. Water. We talk about water. Comments. Comment mods. Listen, you guys, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. We'll run through the rest of these. We had Ryan, and we had Mickey, and we had Allison. Thank you guys so much for doing that. It's important. The comments, that's what makes this a good conversation. If our comments are just a bunch of trolls saying crap, that's no fun. And we display them here, so they're on record. What do the people have to say? What do you have to say? These are your opinions, your voice. And we blast that out. We make sure that that's public. This is on record. Right? Nobody else does that. I was watching. This was the basic principle of engagement broadcasting, having a conversation with you guys. And I was noticing on The Voice, they're starting to show some tweets really quick in the bottom like that. Except they're like garbage. They're obviously written by producers. They certainly don't look like tweets from real human beings. They're produced, written tweets from the stars. That's not what we're after here. This is your words. All right. So unfiltered, uncensored. The only filtering is we try to put things in the list. You want to have if you want to see your comment here, say something that's relevant. If it's hate speech, we're probably not going to put it up. That's all. Let me just open these this other article here. We'll get this loaded in. We actually will drop that for you if we grab it out of live production and get it to these guys in the chat. It's a Politico article, and then it goes to a Quinnipiac poll. And this is what I want you to look at. Voters don't believe Clinton-Trump promises. Quinnipiac University National Poll finds no transgender rule for schools, voters say. Americans do not believe Republican Donald Trump will build a wall on the Mexican border or expel 11 million illegal immigrants. If he is elected president, and voters don't believe Democrat Hillary Clinton will even try to limit secret money in politics or rein in the power of Wall Street, according to a new Quinnipiac poll. National poll released today. Only 24% of voters believe Trump, if elected, would be able to build the wall and have Mexico pay for it, while 39% say he will try and fail. I think that's hilarious. People ask me why I'm not worried about Trump. It's because I don't see him able to really accomplish any of the asinine things he has in mind. That's why. Right? And if he gets into office, we'll have a shitstorm civil war in this country anyway. It just won't happen. Hillary Clinton, nobody believes her. Why are you voting for her? I don't understand that. Nobody believes her. She's not going to do anything. She said, we've learned this already with every other establishment politician, including the big O, Obama, who is currently wanting to spend $1 trillion on weapons of war, including short-range cruise missiles with nukes in them, which I find rather scary. And he wants to cut, or did want to cut, Social Security until Bernie Sanders come along. But they're going to cut troop pay, because that's, of course, where you should take the money out of the citizens is troop pay. But that poll's fun. Last little, this is the one that came through while Bernie was talking about infrastructure, when he was talking about rebuilding our cities, taking care of ourselves, a country that shouldn't, our grandchildren should be able to look at us and go, I can't believe you let that happen. I can't believe you did nothing about climate change. The one thing that Bernie didn't get right in that is if we don't do anything about climate change, there won't be any grandkids to say that. We got 10 years to stop using fossil fuels. 10 years. That's not an exaggeration. That's not some crazy guy talking. That's science. Fact. We're so screwed beyond belief. The new data shows that we are super, super screwed. If we don't act on climate change in a D-Day sized mobilization as a global effort and stop the use of fossil fuels now, there will be no grandkids asking questions. So let's just make that clear. Let's take a look at this real quick. Many Flints. 33 U.S. cities cheated to pass lead water testing. Doesn't that just make you feel so good inside to know that your government cheats on tests so that your kids can be poisoned with lead and other various chemicals, since we know for a fact that fracking water leaks into our groundwater. So who knows what the fuck we're putting into our kids' drinking water. And I'm just going to read the first sentence, or the little piece of the first paragraph here. Conducted in the wake of the lead water crisis in Flint, Michigan, thousands of documents requested by The Guardian reveal shockingly negligent practices when it comes to water testing across American cities. Officials in Philadelphia and Chicago asked employees to test water safety in their own homes. The states of Michigan and New Hampshire told water departments to give themselves more time to test so that if their lead levels were too high, they could retest and remove the previous results. What the fuck is that? Are you kidding me? I want to know who those officials are that said that. And then I don't know what I want. I don't know. What do you do? What do you do with people like that? What is justice? What is justice with a person that would say that? Somebody who would even think that would be okay. These are your children. It's just disgusting. We need to hold our government officials accountable, and we need to raise the moral and ethical standards across the board for the United States. because we are a thug. We function like a thug. We make the mafia look awesome and honorable. We are gross. America is gross. This is what happens when you have an undereducated society. I was going to end with this one piece. We're going to end with something really cool. This is new Bernie piece just came out. And it says, bold, change the system. Be bold, change the system. Sounds like what we've been talking about here. And this is what we're going to end with. Join us tomorrow for the newsroom, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. We'll have and then I believe we're doing a short rally after that. I have to check because I do have to leave tomorrow by 1. I think I have to leave at 1. So if we can smash a rally in there, something in there early in the morning, we'll do that. Otherwise, I got to take off. I want to thank everybody for being here. And remember, we've got just a few days before a whole bunch of states vote. I had the 538 pulled up, and I don't have it right here in front of my face. But damn it, what'd I do with that? Hang on a second. I really did have it right in my face, and I lost it. Anyway, it's not just California. There's a whole bunch of states. The Dakotas. I'm not going to remember them all. I can't. I don't. There's a bunch of states that nobody's remembering except for those of us campaigning. I'm not even remembering their names. But hey, all of you out there in those states that I don't want to bother pulling up right now, we're here for you. Vote. It matters. You know why it matters? Because this is it. This is the one chance to do this peacefully. We either do this peacefully or it's going to get crazy. When the environment starts to crash around us, which it will happen very soon. I mean, it just hasn't really affected all of us together. It's going to get crazy. We need to put Bernie in office. We need to take California and all the other states by storm. Hillary will not win by 67%, and that is the key. That's what she has to do across the board in this on June 7th. She has to win by 67%. She will not. And that means we go to the convention with power. Big Bernie power. Hillary cannot defeat Trump. Bernie can. That's the end of this story. So stand strong. Be relentless. And Puerto Rico primary is on the 5th, too. Thank you. Thank you. You listed all of them. Thank you, Jesse. We've got California, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, South Dakota, North Dakota. Puerto Rico primary on the 5th. And District of Columbia on the 14th. That's the final one. District is not going to be all that great for us, though, because that's all the establishment. But thank you guys. Thank you guys out there for being here. Help Tim Canova. Oh, my gosh. Tell you what, of all the down ticket candidates, and we're going to double up on We the Peoples. As soon as we're done with the rallies, my goal is to double up on We the People so we can interview and talk to as many down ticket candidates as possible. Because we need to get these guys in office. We need to elect as many Berniecrats. After Bernie says, okay, you're done funding me, start funding these other guys now. We need to pour cash into their campaigns. Tim Canova, pour cash to his campaign. Tom Fegan out there in Iowa, pour some cash to his campaign. We have a Berniecrat list. If you're in one of these cities, and it affects you, I mean, all of it affects us, but if you're there in Florida, Tim Canova is your man. Get Debbie out of there. We don't want her ass anywhere near our government anymore. Right? This is how we do it. We raised $212 million for our candidate in less than a year. And we took a guy who was like 50 points down in the polls through a media blackout. We took our candidate, funded him more than the establishment candidate, and pushed him through a media blackout to rise and be tied with their candidate for the convention. That is huge. And now we need to turn that same massive power and passion onto down ticket candidates so that they can start replacing some of the shit stains in our establishment government with some people that'll actually represent the rest of us. Because that's the point, right? So, help get rid of a shit stain. That's what we're really trying to do. That's my statement there. This is gonna go out with this. This is Be Bold, Change the System, from the official Bernie 2016 YouTube channel. And we have a We the People in 2 hours. Thank you. I totally forgot that. We have a We the People with Dan Roll. Dan Roll for Congress, the progressive champion of Nevada. He is running for 4th district candidate in Nevada, and we're going to talk with him. We've talked with Dan before on the newsroom about the bullshit that went down in Nevada over the, what's her name? Roberta Lang just acting like a 5-year-old with the gavel and running off in a huff because she didn't like democracy or didn't want to have to actually do her fucking job or whatever she was going on there. Dan is running for office, down ticket candidate. Pour some money into Dan's campaign if you can. And we will talk to him at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on We the People. Join us for that. Lastly, we're going to connect with this guy. Gary, if you're out there, hope to set up a meeting with you in the next few days and talk to you before the California primary, the primary on the 7th for everybody else. You can't expose the corruption of the political system and then expect us to get behind that same political system. Gary Fraser, Black Men for Bernie. Can't wait to talk to him, and I believe the founder, Bruce, of Black Men for Bernie. That's how I feel. When somebody says, Bernie or bust, why are you Bernie or bust? Because of that. Because you can't tell me there's criminals, now I want you to vote for that criminal. But don't worry, we're going to change the system after you vote for that criminal. Nope. Not going to fucking happen. I will not be voting for Hillary Clinton. She is a criminal. Bernie Sanders is who I will vote for. You give me another option, and there's rumors. There's rumors, and I am okay with the Stein-Sanders ticket if that's what we need. As long as we can put a game plan to that and kick some ass. But what I'm excited about with Gary and Black Men for Bernie is that they've got some civil disobedience plans. And that is what I'm most excited about. They've got some ideas to make it so. And I like this. So we're going to talk to them about it. Wow, 327 still watching. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being here. Thank you, guys. We will see you tomorrow. You are awesome. Tomorrow, by the way, tomorrow's the day we go check out potential new BTV House 1. This is the one we really want. This is the one the wife really wants. I hope the current owners feel the burn because she wants this one out of all the other ones. So good thoughts and intentions, please, that we end up being able to work all the things and go here because it is really cool and it would be perfect for housing the Global Engagement Network, PoliticalRevolution.tv, Bernie 2016 TV, and all the other channels and programs that we want to create with you, for you. All right, I'm done with my sales pitches. Get out of here. Feel the burn. Rise up. Be relentless. Phone bank. Face bank. Do everything you can. We've only got a few days left, and we need to kick Hillary's ass. Bye, everybody.
I've spent almost half of my life in prison, so 16 years. I was always a dreamer. I used to go to the library all the time and read, and I would imagine a different world. I was able to mentally leave my neighborhood through reading. Growing up, I ran track, played chess. I played the cello at some point. I was raised in a very violent neighborhood. Every couple of months, we had to go bury somebody. My brother was shot, my cousin was gunned down right behind my house. I lost 5 friends before the age of 17. In my teenage years, my mom went through, a terrible relationship with a police officer that, sexually assaulted my mom, punched me, or pulled out his gun and put it to my head. I started carrying a weapon for protection. After so many times of him smacking my mom around, at some point, the next person that does something to me, I'm gonna respond. Not too long after that, people came after me, and I ended up taking a person's life. And I felt terrible. It was hard for me to even imagine that I did it. I was 17. My mustache had just grown in. They sentenced me to natural life in prison. I remember them putting me in a dark van. They just drove me away. I just came to the realization that I probably would never get out, that I would have to grow old and die there. My family had stopped accepting my calls, and I wasn't getting visits from them. The mail stopped coming. I knew in my heart that I was a good person. I just decided that I just wanted to turn my life around, and so I just started writing up a plan. Embracing my education could be my way out of prison. I call it a positive delusion. I had to delude myself to believe that I would get out somehow. It allowed me to get up every day and work really hard at school and study and really embrace it. I became a mentor, I started volunteering, I started to help folks, and I just never stopped. When I wrote the master plan up, I sent a copy of it to my judge. 10 years had went by, and the judge says, I'll let you out, but you have to finish this master plan. And so they gave me a chance. Education was the key path for me to get out of prison. Bernie gets it more than anyone.
We are going to invest in our young people, in jobs and education, not jails and incarceration.
If you look at our community now, it's not that people are out here doing these crimes and stuff because they're stupid. People lack the knowledge to do things, to start a company. What do you do? How do you do that?
I want every kid in this country, I want them to know, yes, they will be able to get a higher education.
Bernie understands the impact of tuition-free public college. He's willing to contribute and do something bold to change the system. The effects would just be amazing. I wanted to be a social entrepreneur. I wanted to, create opportunities that I didn't have growing up. So I feel like it's my job to go back into these communities and create pathways and show people how beautiful the world is and what's possible. My name is Chris Wilson, and I'm supporting Bernie Sanders as President of the United States.
Huge